Hello and Merry Gouda Gouda to everyone. This is Kawaii50 with another Fake Grand Order video. Of course, with a new Gouda Gouda event comes a new freebie servant, and it just makes the most sense to me to talk about the servant everyone is guaranteed to get as long as they do the event, rather than the other servants that are a maybe, possibly, someday I will get this character maybe servant. So let's make sure we talk about the new Avenger class servant who is entirely free, Mysterious Ranmaru X. We're going to be going over all of Ranmaru's best allies, craft essences, and command codes so they can become, and this is fairly surprising, a very good arts looper for your team, as well as a solid Avenger class servant if you happen to be lacking any of those extra classes. Hopefully this video really helps you out, and if it does, be sure to go ahead, like, and subscribe. Ranmaru comes equipped with 1 quick, 2 arts, and 2 buster cards with an AoE Arts Noble Phantasm. And the nice thing about this AoE Arts Noble Phantasm, well, do the event, guaranteed NP5. So taking a look at Ranmaru's stats, that max attack of 9,872, which is technically the lowest amongst all of the Avengers in the game, is fairly irrelevant because you are getting so much damage out of that Noble Phantasm 5. Max HP is alright at 10,241 since they're going to be taking mostly neutral damage, and star absorption as expected from an Avenger is fairly low, but there are ways to go ahead and pump up that number. Clearly, the standout of Ranmaru's whole spread we got here is the AoE Noble Phantasm and the ability to Arts Brave Chain. Ranmaru's first skill is how we deal with that low star weight. Ranmaru Hand Rank B increases an ally's critical star gather rate and critical strength for 1 turn, and also clears any and all debuffs that ally has. Of course, Ranmaru can cast that on themselves, or you can use them as a sort of pseudo arts critical supporter if you're fairly early in the game and really need that for one of your characters. We are going to go ahead and max this skill second to pump up the crit damage. The star absorption sitting at a whopping 3,000% is honestly pretty fine as it is, and this skill having a 4-turn cooldown, it's pretty nuts to me for a freebie character. Ranmaru's second skill is Ranmaru I Rank A. This has a 40% chance to apply charm to all enemies for 1 turn, and this never changes, unfortunately, regardless of how much you level this skill up. The only thing that does change from leveling this skill up is the defense reduction to all enemies for 3 turns. You're going to suck away 10% to 20% of their defense, and this also grants just 10 critical stars to boot. A little bit of a spoiler alert for Ranmaru's Noble Phantasm, but that completely ignores enemy defense. So the defense reduction is not really that necessary considering that's going to be your main source of damage. We're going to go ahead and max this skill last, if at all. And Ranmaru's final and most important skill is Ranmaru Straw Rank A. This increases their arts card effectiveness by 20 to 30% for 3 turns, grants a 10 to 20% NP steroid, and also 10 critical stars, just like that second skill. We are definitely going to go ahead and max this first because this is going to help the most with that looping. We've got that 30% possible arts boost and that 20% NP gain. Very, very useful when it comes to refund and getting bonuses from those arts cards. Checking out Ranmaru's append skills, Blowed Magical Energy is my main recommendation, especially considering it's kind of difficult to make sure we get enough coins for those freebie servants, especially if you want to do things like grail them above level 100. That can be very, very difficult to get enough coins. So I'd say just focus on this. If anything, the 10 to 20% is good on absolutely any character in the game so they can use their Noble Phantasm. And speaking of Noble Phantasms, and there it is, Ranmaru X. Man, these freebie servants Noble Phantasms have definitely got a budget boost since the beginning of the game. This, since you will get it to NP5, won't you, deals 750% damage to all enemies, and this completely ignores defense, as I mentioned earlier. That's why that second skill isn't necessarily that good. This also has an overcharge effect, increasing Ranmaru's critical star drop rate for 1 turn. This activates before damage is dealt, so if you're following up with maybe that single solitary quick card or those arts cards, you're going to get a few more critical stars out of the whole affair. But the main value here is the damage. Ranmaru needs as much damage as possible since they're going to be dealing neutral damage to most things that aren't berserkers, but with an NP5, your Ranmaru is going to be fairly serviceable, if I do say so myself. Great for people who don't have a Space Ishtar, like me. When it comes to allies, fairly simple for the point of keeping this video brief. You're gonna want your best art supporter to help out Ranmaru. As a damage dealer, Ranmaru is going to be fairly selfish in the amount of support they are going to need. So go ahead and throw a Castoria, maybe 2 Castorias, maybe a Tamamo no Mai. Whatever good art supporter you have will be more than enough for Ranmaru. Now, let's move on to craft essences. Of course, what am I going to mention? The max limit broken kaleidoscope, easily the most free to play of craft essences in the entire game. Yes, that was a joke. Please don't get angry at me. K-Scope is going to grant you that immediate 100% Noble Phantasm gauge, really helping out with the Castoria looping. If you are confident in the amount of refund that you have been getting, mainly because you've probably given Ranmaru enough foes in order to make sure that they get all of that Noble Phantasm refunded from the overcharge, you can go ahead and transition over to the Black Grail. This is going to be your absolute best bet when it comes to increasing Ranmaru's Noble Phantasm damage. In the event you don't have a Black Grail, well, Heaven's Feel will also do. If you're using Ranmaru to fight a boss, then we are going to want to transition over into some other CEs to maybe help with things like critical damage. Holy Night Supper is an excellent way to utilize that. This grants 30 to 50% NP gauge, 10 to 15% crit damage, and 10 to 15% Noble Phantasm damage, really allowing you to get a little more oomph out of Ranmaru's first skill. You can also go ahead and give Ranmaru something like Welcome to Oniland. Since Ranmaru's main cards are Buster and Arts, this can be very helpful, granting a 10 to 12% increase to those card types, and this actually has all of its stats placed firmly in attack, just like absolutely everything else I have mentioned on this list, because Ranmaru's gonna want that attack. And finally, command codes. Let's absorb some stars and generate some stars as well. On Ranmaru's arts cards, you're going to want star absorption on there, so give them something like Colonel Automaton for a 10% crit damage boost and 50% critical star absorption. This is going to help mainly when you pop that first skill, so you can massively boost Ranmaru's Star Gather. It'll ensure that when you need it most, those stars will go to the actual cards you want them to go to, despite the fact that Ranmaru's overall Star Gather normally is quite low. I also want to recommend Immature Illusionary Command Seal. This grants 100% star absorption on specifically an arts card. Basically any star absorption will do. Just remember that this is mainly for when you pop that first skill, so you can make sure the cards get the stars. The cards you want will get those stars. When it comes to everything else, let's go ahead and chuck some critical star generation on there. Hero of the Endowed can be a great pick, granting 3 critical stars and recovering a little bit of HP to boot. Mysterious Mask is really fun for boss fights, granting 1 critical star, but also inflicting critical attack chance down, one of the most underrated debuffs in the game, something that is incredible on any and all bosses. So if you want to use Ranmaru to the point where they are fighting bosses for you, consider chucking this on there as well. I'd also like to recommend the Mini Border. This grants 2 critical stars when attacking using the engraved card, which is the main reason we are using it. This does remove an enemy's latest defense up buff. This isn't necessarily going to matter as much for Ranmaru because, well, they ignore defense with that Noble Phantasm, but that is not going to be the case for any of Ranmaru's face cards. So you might want an ability to strip that buff, just in case. Overall, gang, I think Mysterious Ranmaru X is a very, very good welfare. Not only are they offering players a chance to get an extra class servant and Avenger in this case in the event that they don't have one, that alone is super good, but the ability to art sloop with a guaranteed NP5 on a character is super, super cool as well, especially considering that the character isn't going to automatically kill enemies before they're able to generate any of the recharge. Sorry, Reese, but it really has to be said. If you happen to be lacking a Space Ishtar and you wanted a Arts Looping Avenger, or if you're lacking a Summer Kama as well to boot like I am, this is going to be your next best bet other than those two for an Arts Looping Avenger. The problem does become that, I mean, Arts Loopers, there's so many of them, so many can be super duper effective, that Ranmaru ends up falling into a niche that is already highly populated. But if your current Arts Looper has already hit Bond 15, you're just looking for someone new to try, or if you really like Ranmaru and want them to be your absolute main Arts Looper, that is entirely doable because of that free NP5. Overall, very pleased with Ranmaru as this Guda servant. Definitely make sure you go for them while the event is up. But of course I want to know what you all think, so let me know your thoughts on Mysterious Ranmaru X down in the comments section below. Let me know if you think there are any allies, craft essences, or command codes I might have missed, and let me know if Ranmaru is who you are most excited for from this new Guda event, or if there's somebody else you think is even more exciting than this free Avenger. As you head down in the comments, be sure to check out the Discord, Patreon, and Ko-fi. Huge thanks to absolutely everyone on those platforms for their support, and of course a big thanks to all of you here on YouTube as well. If it wasn't for all of your support, I wouldn't continue making these videos, so I sincerely appreciate it. Anyways, gang, that's it for me, Kawaii50. I hope you all have a phenomenal day, and I will see you all in the next one.